And we are live. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Luke. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Very well, thank. Well, yeah. Well,
I was like, "Are you? You've just told me you have to."
No, I lost my voice last week. For anyone that's interested, I lost my voice last week. It was during Elite Sellers Academy. So anyone watching that, I was literally struggling to talk, and then literally all day Friday, nothing was coming out at all. And then had a wedding weekend this weekend. So like close friends got married, so we were involved in the whole thing. And I was actually doing a speech at the wedding. I was really worried about not being able to talk at the wedding, but then voice disappeared again, and then it's back, and now it's back, and then it went and that's back. But anyway, that's boring. But it's kind of back now, so it's pretty good. Just a bit croaky at the moment. So Luke, you have a different backdrop. You are joining us from England.
You want to see?
Yeah, you're back.
My Airbnb.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, very nice.
Behind the scenes.
Just had a notification. Evening. Let's see who's joined. Oh, by the way, hopefully you can see and hear us okay. Let us know in the comments. I'd imagine, it's a lovely evening. I can't imagine we're going to be hugely busy tonight, to be perfectly honest, because I imagine people are out enjoying the sunshine, enjoying everything that they're doing at the moment. And to be honest, I don't blame you. So let's jump in and just see if anyone has joined us. We are live by the looks of it. So Fran is there. Hi, Fran. Hi, Simon. Yeah, probably going to be a bit of a quiet one tonight, but what I wanted to talk about was mainly the stuff that's going on with Amazon, their webinar yesterday, just a general kind of catch up with people, just talk a little bit about how we're preparing for Q4 as well, because this week is actually the first week that I'm going to do something really actionable for Q4. Maybe talk a little bit about selling in the US as well, which I thought pretty good, and just general kind of catch up with Luke whilst he's back in the country, which is good. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Karen. Luke, how long are you back for? So you're back
only until next Tuesday, Karen. But I'm hoping, not that any of my friends care that I'm doing this, but I haven't told some of them because I don't want them to think that I'm not visiting them.
Oh dear! I noticed normally
they're not all local. You see, so I'll have to do some decent, even if it's a train for an hour and a half. But I'm not here my first couple of days were like that. Actually, I could do things. Was it Wednesday? So Sunday? Hang on, Sunday or Monday? Sunday. So Sunday was the first day I could kind of, but only in the the afternoon, late afternoon.
Yeah.
And so apart from obviously seeing my mum last week in quarantine, and then today actually Jim Davies came down to see me. So I said to him, "You're privileged because I'm not even seeing some of my good friends." But he obviously drove here, and a lot of them work as well. So it's like the middle of the week. Yeah. So it's not like it's particularly practical for them to be doing it. And then tomorrow I'll do a little bit. I'll kind of having this week off, maybe with a couple of bits that I've got to do. Because I don't really, like most of us, we don't really have holiday as such, unless you actually unless you actually go out your way to schedule it, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I don't even really go on holiday full stop. Thinking about it, the last 5 years, probably I've gone away on long weekends, but no 2 week family like I did when I was a child.
Yeah.
So I don't have a family.
Well, I think, and you've just reminded me something that I meant to ask at the start of this, actually, to do with, the weather and everything like that. Because obviously weather-wise, we've had a relatively rubbish start to the year. It's only been the last couple of weeks that's, it's turned out really lovely. But what I wanted to ask, because I've got to be honest, this weekend was one of the first weekends I can remember, and some of you that sent me messages will probably, be aware of this, although I think I've replied to most people now anyway, where I didn't do one bit of work over the weekend. And that is literally for the first time I can't even remember when, because like I said, We've been locked down in COVID for 18 months odd, and it was a very close friend's wedding this weekend that we were very much involved with. I was involved with the ceremony, and Matt was the best man. So I really wanted to enjoy the weddings. At that point, before Boris made his announcements yesterday, didn't know if we were going to, no, I knew we weren't going to get locked back down again, but didn't know if, next time we'd be out enjoying ourselves kind of thing for a weekend away. So I didn't do any work whatsoever. So apologies if you did send me a message and I didn't reply. It's because, I was trying to have a little bit of a break from it all. But that's why I wanted to ask everyone, because the weather was so lovely this weekend, because it's been so lovely. And I'm friends with quite a few like internet marketers, on Facebook, see a lot of their stories, and just no one seems to be doing any work at the moment. Everyone seems to be out on their boats or enjoying themselves. So let me know in the comments, are you working at the moment, or are you really taking advantage of the the good weather and not doing anything? Luke's back here on holiday, technically seeing friends.
My holiday consists of how I kind of see, not literal holiday, but apart from if I'm taking time off, is I would love just to have a couple of beers and play my new Resident Evil game on the Xbox. That to me is like a holiday.
yeah, no, I know. And I know it sounds really funny because most of us do work for ourselves, obviously. And excuse me, most of us do work for ourselves. So a holiday essentially is very different from when you book time off work, and even if you don't go abroad or anything like that. Whereas when you work for yourself, it's very, very hard to take an actual holiday when you don't do anything. Like I said, this weekend I was checking my phone, I was seeing messages that were coming in, and of course if there'd been anything ridiculously urgent, of course I would have stopped, and I would have answered messages and things like that. But it was nice to take a step away and get a bit of clarity. But what I will say at the same time, it does take you a little while to get used to not replying to people or doing this or doing that. So certainly for a period of time, I was feeling a bit of nervousness and thinking, oh, I should reply, or I should do, even though I'd mentally checked myself to make sure that I wanted to enjoy the time that we were in and enjoying the wedding. So, but it is what it is. And I think that most people, from what I've been seeing online, have certainly been doing the same. So, Tammy says, took the weekend off for my daughter's birthday. Simon says, taking a week off the day job, but to fully focus on the business. So I know.
Well, actually, when I did that, it was it wasn't like work. When I used to work and I used to go away on the weekends, the only thing I used to do is I used to if I was working, driving around collecting RA, I would just schedule a nice Hilton, on the Friday or Saturday, and then have that would be it'd be like going away almost. You could have a couple of beers in the nice hotel suite. At the time, I remember watching an England game. I was like, oh, this is nice. But even though it was kind of like work, I guess you could call it, but actually at the same time, I kind of mixed it in so that it felt quite nice to do, even though it was a weekend and I did work full time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But the thing is, and the whole point of this conversation that I did want to obviously talk about is, it is, like I said, I had these pangs of guilt over the weekend of having a little break. But at the end of the day, it's so important to do that. I came in yesterday, absolutely clear mind, what I wanted to do this week, what I wanted to get done. Same again today, absolutely smashed it out the park. Learned something new today, which I've been doing. This is really weird. I don't do anything to do with any of our photos or anything like that with selling on Amazon. Normally Matt does it all. Everyone from Elite Sellers all know this. It's normally Matt that does, the kind of back end stuff and everything. But today I thought I needed to get a listing up and running. I need to get it done quite quickly. And Matt's a bit backed up at the moment with some tasks. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to give it a go myself. I'm going to watch a few videos. I'm going to give it a go and see what happens. And I used Canva and I made some infographics and I put a few things together. And I mean, they're okay. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say, oh my God, they're amazing. They're the best thing ever. But they're good enough to be able to do what I need to do, which is a test listing. So I was really, and you know what was interesting, and is that I don't think if I'd had that break at the weekend where I just stepped away from everything, I probably just would have waited for Matt to do it. It's because I had like a new level of clarity this week, which sounds really crazy. So it was interesting. I took a break away, which I never do, and then I challenged myself and did something new. And I find it too much of a coincidence for it, not to be as a result of having a mental break. I don't know. Maybe.
I find that I have like those moments of like doing things sort of outside of what the norm. More, they just come to. They're more like a random enlightenment moments, and then I'll just go, oh yeah, and then I'll just crack. But I don't really. So that's how I normally have my. But it usually stems from just kind of daydreaming, which means I'm not doing anything as such. So I'm just like literally daydreaming about whatever. It could be a gazillion in like half an hour. It could be like 500 different things, scenarios of random things, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, that's quite cool. And it's the same as like when I do YouTube videos, because I kind of just don't predetermine them. When I don't plan it out. I mean, like I might put bullet points to make sure I cover like 3 things, but then as I'm talking, sometimes because it's kind of like not really just a bit of fun, kind of doing it. I'm like, I start saying stuff, and I'm like. Oh yeah, like, I'm not even doing it, and I'm like, but it just comes out, and I'm like, oh, I'll remember that, and I'll have. So I quite like that. That's more when I find my.
That's obviously your thought process, definitely. But I can completely advocate it, guys. So if you are someone that has been permanently tied to your business for God knows how long, certainly over the last 18 months, take a weekend off, enjoy the sunshine, because a rest is it has really kind of inspired me. Although saying that, then I'm off again next week. So I feel like, oh my God, I feel like I'm not doing like hardly any work at the moment because we are actually having a proper holiday next week as well. So God knows what will happen after that. I'll come back completely buzzing and inspired. But, that's because it is a family holiday with the children. Evening, Ash. Let's just have a quick say hello to a few people. Darren's joined us. Philip Dykes joined us. As well. Fran says, working for me, it's not that sunny where I am, so it's business as usual. And again, that's probably the other side of it. When the sun shines in Bournemouth, it is very hard to resist, with everything that's around us, the beaches, the sea. And again, I've got a really high percentage of friends that either, don't work or run their own businesses. So they do have the flexibility to be able to do things when they want to do things. So, does get a little bit tempting. Tammy's asked where you're from, Luke. Well, you're from here, but you live somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm from Fareham. If anyone knows about near Portsmouth, I was born in Portsmouth, I think, but live in Fareham. But I live in Lithuania. Well, I don't this very second, but like
you're back visiting.
Although I have started looking at it and thinking, like, am I, for example, if am I. Because I was thinking, like, if anyone tried to find me in the UK, I don't have a registered address.
You don't
exist. But then they wouldn't ever find out I lived in Lithuania because we left the EU, so that the transition of information isn't as readily available.
Well, unless they join the Elite Sellers Academy or watch Nevermind the Bible.
Well, yeah, but you get what I mean. And I was thinking, like, do I even really? Am I like off the radar half? Because like they couldn't even like.
Maybe you're a secret spy. Maybe you're a secret.
But at the moment, I'm living, I guess, in Lithuania, in a place called Kolnas. It's a city. It's about the same size as Southampton, if anyone knows.
Oh, really? So it's quite big.
I was curious today. I was talking about how people were saying, how big is it? And I went and saw my nan because it was her 80th birthday today. Gave her some flowers, and she was like, "Oh, is it a village you live in?" I was like, "No, what? As in like I don't know why." The first thought would be I live in a village in Lithuania, but grandma's. And I was like, no, I live in a city. She's like, oh, how big is it? I was like, and then I looked at, it's the same size as. So it's actually bigger than I thought because it's not. It's not that. It's pretty sizable, I think, and not obviously like London or Manchester, probably, but.
Lithuania is quite well known, though, as well for being a kind of capital of digital commerce and things like that. There's a lot.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of startups that do, like stuff, companies like NordVPN and those kind of like quite whatever you want to. I don't even know what you call them, to be honest. Like fintech, are they called? Or no, that's financial technology, isn't it? But I don't know. There's a lot of companies like that. There's a lot of incentives. A lot of Vilnius is the capital, and a lot of companies are starting up there. And I think it's someone that lives there actually told me it's because there's a good mix of westernized methods and business practices and innovation and all that kind of thing, but also a bit more traditional terms of it's a little bit lower paid, but the talent's very good. So it's kind of like a good balance between the two. Obviously, for a new business to go and start in the UK, it's going to cost a lot more to get going, and so it's kind of a good intermediary place to start.
Yeah, definitely some of the business and some of the talents that I've seen coming out of Lithuania, I think, yeah, it's definitely that type of country that's going to kind of explode over, well, it's already exploding, but, you know, it's going to do financially very well over the next few years for sure. Right, Caitlin's joined us evening as well. So just a bit of up-to-date news with everything that's going on with Amazon. This kind of popped up, I think it's today. I'm not sure of the date. I think it's today. I didn't turn my notifications off. Hang on a sec, let me get rid of that. There we go. So, yes. Oh, no, I think it popped up yesterday. And do you know what? I've never heard of this before.
You talking about this liquidation thing?
Or yeah.
I have seen it I saw it on another group in America.
Yeah.
But it's not in the UK, unfortunately.
No, I know. It's one of those things that when it popped up, I thought, oh, what's that? And you know what? You're absolutely right. I have heard of it. And I think I'd heard of it mentioned in the US, but I didn't actually know what it was. 100%. I'll hold my hands up. Didn't know what it was. Heard of FBA liquidations. But for some reason, I think all this time I must have thought it was something else. I didn't realize it was an actual paid program or a program that you could join on Amazon. I thought it was just to do with like, I don't know, disposing stock.
You thought it was the other side, like you can buy Amazon liquidations?
Possibly that there was some sort of deal that could be done of buying off of Amazon or something like that. I hadn't even looked into it, and I don't want to spend too much time because obviously predominantly our audience tonight and who watch this is UK based, and I'm trying to work out why it's not UK based. I know it must.
I did think that. Yeah, I mean, I know. Yeah. The only thing I was thinking is that a lot of stock that expires as the more that you obviously sell. Like last year, I chucked away like, I don't know, probably 7-8 grand worth of stock and gave it away. So I got 0 out of that. Now, if I could even make 800 quid out of that or 500 quid, it's better than 0. And with this, I think with this thing, you get between 5 and 20% of your money back. I don't know how it's calculated exactly, but in anticipation of like a bunch of expired stock, you could straight away, as well, you have to recall that expired stock, which costs money. So you're actually almost not only losing the product, but you also have to recall. And then obviously all the work that's involved with actually receiving it back and doing whatever. Then this could be a nice way just to, in one set, however, like 15 minutes, I don't know how long it would take, but, a quick way to get whatever back, which is better than basically just eating like 6,000 chocolate bars or something.
Or sending them to your mum.
But obviously definitely with food though, I'm not sure how it would work, so I'd have to look.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things. It popped up and I thought, wow, this sounds amazing. And purely because a lot of the high volume sellers I know do write off a big percentage of their stock every year. Well, sorry, a big value, probably a low percentage in terms of the grand scheme of things. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. And then at the footnote at the bottom, it says FBA liquidations is not available for inventory stored in the UK. So it doesn't mean that you can't take advantage of it if you are a UK seller. It's just if your stock is not based in the UK. So I'll just give you a quick rundown of what it is, because like I said, I've been racking my brains on this a little bit today. And if anyone knows, let us know in the comments, because normally the reason why we wouldn't be able to participate in something like this would be because of Brexit and the fact that we are not part of the EU anymore. But I don't understand the reasoning.
Unless it's because the companies are like based in the EU predominantly or something. Because I do know some of the companies, they have like that they normally deal with both. And so maybe they don't want to deal. I mean, I'm just trying to create.
Yeah, possibly. Idea. I mean, let's face it, it's going to be because of geographical location, the reason why the UK cannot participate. But I want to let you guys know, obviously, because if it is something that is not down to Brexit and it's something that they hoping that they might be able to bring to us in the future, it sounds pretty good, especially for sellers like Luke, if you're a high volume seller. So it's FBA liquidations for free. I'm assuming it's some sort of paid program ordinarily. But it says to help you avoid storage fees for products with low sell-through rate and create room, which we know Amazon is all about at the moment, which we'll come on and talk about in a moment, for productive, to make room more to make more room for productive inventory, we're waiving the FBA liquidation fees in Germany, Poland, Czech Republic, France, Spain, and Italy through to September the 7th, 2021. FBA liquidation allow you to remove overstock or customer returned inventory. So customer returned inventory.
Let me close the window because it's.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear that?
Yeah. What is it?
Someone's lawnmower just. They started their lawnmower.
Okay, so overstock or customer returned inventory, so presumably inventory that might not be in a resellable condition, and recover between 5 and 20% of the sales price. Now, it's not saying that it's immediately going to give you between 5 and 20%. It's presumably like a, if you sell something on a no win, no fee kind of basis, or
maybe you get paid once. You basically submit it and you get paid whatever is then arranged later. Like you'll get.
Yeah, I think it's only going to be paid out on what you sell basis. They're not going to pay you 5 to 20% on stuff that they're not going to sell. But it's the fee waiver applies to any removal order. So before the 7th of September. So it's basically a new option for a removal order. So you select the removal order, and instead of selecting removal order, you select liquidations when you create the removal order, which none of us would have seen, obviously, because it says quite clearly there it's not available for inventory stored in the UK. But be really interesting to follow that one and see if it does come about, because like you said, you dumped $7 grand's worth of stock last year. Even if you got 10% back on that,
yeah, because I've been looking at getting in contact with some of those discounted best before companies, just because any money is better than zero money. So once I've done it myself, I can just get a virtual assistant to basically do it and tell the prep center to basically get a pallet. Once you've got a pallet load of returns, let me know, and kind of like that. But they do it normally 90%. They're paying me 90% off retail, which is pretty low, and it probably depending on how much the removal fee is, obviously not that it changes, but it's like how much work do you want to put in to get a little bit back if you have to start paying before you can get anything back. But this would potentially get rid of that. But it'd be interesting to see. But that is something that I've been looking at, and this would just override any need to potentially. Obviously, you'd have to see how it works, but you have to give it a go and just see what happened. Basically, is what I think. But yeah.
Well, again, interestingly enough, I saw an article this week about the Co-op have started, the Co-op supermarket have actually started putting bins, like bargain bins, clearance bins or whatever, by the checkout that quite clearly says this food is out of its expiry date, but it's perfectly fine, and they're selling it. So I think we're going to see some sort of shift. There's a lot of food wastage that goes on in this country and lots of other countries around the world. And I think because of expiry dates, and I've got, I don't know, in my mind somewhere, I've got a funny feeling expiry dates are linked to EU policy. Again, maybe someone could correct me on that if I'm wrong. I was just thinking I thought I'd heard it somewhere. So if that is the case, and we do not have to be as stringent as businesses on expiry dates moving forward, I mean, I'm not talking about Amazon, because Amazon, we know, will still pretty much always go by EU rules, regardless of the UK being outside of the EU. Then that will be really interesting. We could see the spell of the end of, a certain type of expired products, not fresh foods, obviously, but certain foods that.
I love a good bargain anyway. I always go to the Co-op and go to that little corner. They have that little corner. They just chuck all the things. Yeah. And I'm like, what's for dinner? And I'm like, I can make a meal out of that.
But I'll tell you what, if anyone wants a great business idea, then all they need to do is join one of these groups, get in contact. Philip Dyke said, I'd be interested to be in the buyer of some liquidated stock as opposed to the seller. Do you know how that works? I don't, unfortunately, with regards to the liquidation kind of service. But I do think it would be a really good business for someone to set up, come into these groups, put themselves out there and say, look, I sell expired stuff. If you've got, if you've got the means to kind of do it, because there's a guy who lives in around us who's got a warehouse and he sells nothing but expired food. And he does these Facebook lives and he goes around and he shows everyone what's in his warehouse. And he's like,
I've actually seen them. I think they're quite fun to watch.
Yeah. I think if you've got the type of personality to do it, this guy, he just, he makes an absolute fortune selling expired goods. And, he's probably picking the stuff up for a pittance, if not for free, because I'd imagine, like you said, Luke, you'd probably just, be happy just to send them if he covered the cost of, the goods.
Of the removal fee, pretty much.
Sorry. That's what I mean, of the removal fee. So if anyone's interested and looking for a new type of business idea, that's definitely the way to go, because I think that type of business is really interesting. And it's something that if you've got that type of personality and you can reach people and let people know that you're running that, a lot of people don't care about expired products. I certainly don't. I quite happily cook something that's a few days out of date.
My girlfriend's terrible. She's like, you got to eat it. It's going off. And it's like spinach. And I'm like, it's been there a couple of days or something. It's been in the fridge. And I look at it and I'm like, it looks the same as we got it. But because it's been in the fridge for 3 days, we have to eat it now. But like, I kind of resolve, whatever the word is. I've basically given up on like really trying to explain that it doesn't matter. But
yeah, but no, I definitely, Matt's quite into expiry dates, but I'm like, yeah, that's fine, smells okay, that's fine, we'll eat that. It's I'd rather do that than waste it, for sure. So yeah, unfortunately, Phil, no, I don't know who you would contact in order.
There are 30 third-party companies that you can buy pallets of Amazon liquidations, but again, I don't really know how good they are. Like, I've only, you basically bid on it. It's like an auction, and it could be like 6 pallets of electricals, and it normally just says it's like this, and this. Sometimes you have a manifest, sometimes you don't. I think most of the time you don't. On the one I looked at, but I did think if I had a warehouse in that, it'd be fun, more for fun. Oh, have I got an Oculus Quest 2? Does it work?
Yeah,
mucking around with it in the warehouse.
I think it was Emma Hamilton actually who did a video where she bought a pallet once, didn't she? And she ended up getting quite a lot of good Lego or something like that. I seem to remember watching the video like ages ago. So have a look for it on YouTube. But it's I think she bought a pallet of stuff and ended up making like 500 quid out of the pallet. It was never to sell on Amazon because we wouldn't recommend, obviously, you have to have, a good supply chain, proof of supply to be able to sell the stuff on Amazon, regardless of whether you're going to sell it as new, like new, or, or used or whatever. Amazon do want to see proof that it is an actual real good as opposed to, an inauthentic product. So when we're talking about this type of thing, it's definitely not for selling on Amazon, but you certainly no reason why you can't sell it on eBay, Gumtree, Facebook Marketplace. I still think that
you could even create your own Shopify store and probably do something with it. Like, absolutely. I know you probably need everything, but
absolutely. And I think, a lot of the direction we're taking, the Elite Sellers Academy, and also this group as well, is that I think that whilst we have predominantly always been an Amazon group, I think with everything that's going on with the in the world with Amazon and how people are running their businesses, I would be very surprised if we weren't sat here this time next year and we haven't introduced, a good new few ways to sell things, either through Shopify. Obviously, we have Matthew Wright, who handles eBay for us, and lots of people having really good success on eBay at the moment. Whereas I think now that we've come out of the pandemic, because for me, Amazon is where it's been at over the last 18 months. But if you are sourcing for Amazon and if you are selling on Amazon, especially if you have a warehouse, especially if you are fulfilling products yourself, then there is absolutely no reason on earth why you should be not exploring some of the other sales platforms. Yeah, they're never going to...
I wish I was, here a bit more to actually just have a bit of fun.
Yeah.
like do some other things that are like, you know, because I would love to get some electrical pallets and I don't know, just be cool to unbox it, and like that's all I really care about, just seeing what cool goodies I got inside it.
When you see, we'll have to have Matthew Wright on again soon, actually. But when you see Matthew Wright and the type of stuff he sells really cool products that you can't really sell on Amazon for various different reasons. You know, mainly due to, you know, risk of inauthentic claims because they're well-known, you know, really high-level brands and things like that. So, but when you see this type of products he sells, it's a bit like, it gives you a bit of FOMO, because you're a bit like, well, I want to sell those cool products. I don't want to sell any OXO or sanitary pads anymore. I want to sell some, you know, I want to sell some sexy, cool products kind of thing. And yeah, so that's really interesting. But let me know in the comments. I mean, we're selling on eBay at the moment, and I'm not going to try and claim that we are the biggest eBay sellers in the world. We are absolutely not. We haven't sold on eBay for nearly 20 years. But in the last few months, we've just started picking back up on selling eBay again. And I do think it will become a strong income stream for us, definitely. But we're actually quite enjoying it. And I'm really surprised with the sales volume on eBay. So let me know. And Luke, I definitely see you as an eBay seller. So it's a shame that
I know how to sell stuff on eBay, but that's the extent of that.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. And I think what will be very good for the people that do kind of explore those different, whilst things are potentially a little bit quieter on Amazon at the moment and coming over the summer, then I do think this is now the time to explore those different type of avenues. And, you know, even if over Q4, even if you're doing, I don't know, £200 a day on eBay, it's still £200 a day extra. That is probably going to be £500 a day during Q4. You know, it's going to increase over that period of time as well. So I definitely recommend anyone that's not looking into it at the moment, have a look at it, because the volume on eBay has, I know Matthew Wright's been talking about it for 6 months. And it's not that I didn't believe him, but, you know, it's only when you believe it. And I remember eBay from 20 years ago. And, excuse me, so I had to see it to kind of believe it. But yeah, it's a very strong market, certainly for the similar types of products that we sell on Amazon, for sure. So definitely worth looking into. Right. Well, we would be, you know, we're going to have to mention the whole restock limits thing and the webinar on Amazon. Did you see it yesterday, Luke?
No, I didn't. I wasn't. No. Me not being lazy, but me just being like, well, I'm kind of on holiday as well, which is why I wouldn't watch it. But I looked at some of the comments, and a couple of them said it was just a waste of time. But I never saw it. I don't know what actually was, you know, involved. But.
Well, do you know what? It was one of those things. I had full intention of watching it. Put it in my diary, was totally going to watch it. And then about half an hour beforehand, our internet went down, our internet always goes down on like really hot days for some reason, and just can't, I don't know, handle it or whatever. And the internet went down, so we didn't see it. And then it came back up about 10 minutes before the end, and I couldn't get on. I thought, well, there's no point trying to get on, you know, 10 minutes before the end. I'll just wait for the replay, because I know the replay becomes available in about a week. And then I thought, well, okay, I'll just do a post and see if anyone can kind of fill me in on what the guys of Amazon had said. And I can't remember, it was Angela and Terry who sent me the slides for the webinar. So thank you very much, guys, for sending me that. And I went through it, and it's one of those things that I'm kind of glad the internet did go down, because I think I would have got a little bit frustrated watching it because there was nothing new in there. And I don't mean that from a point of, oh, we know everything kind of thing. But the only real bit of big news that I could see from the webinar is that Amazon actually admitted they're full. You know, they actually admitted they've got no more space. And the reason why they're doing everything is because exactly like they've said here, with regards for this liquidation things, they want to make room for only what is going to be the most productive stock, the stock that's going to sell. I think they explained a few things about IPI and how it works. And it was funny, just a few days before, or maybe last week, I can't remember, because I had the weekend off. I can't remember when it was. I actually did a post in the Secret Wealth Project group about how I think we've all been getting the IPI score wrong, and actually it's not really down to what you sell, it's down to what you don't sell, and all of these different types of things. And actually they don't really care if you're not replenishing, providing that you're managing your inventory accordingly. They are potentially looking like they're going to take points off of people who they feel are missing opportunity more than anything else. And what was really interesting was that they actually confirmed that during the webinar, that when it comes to actual replenishment of stock and hiding those stock recommendations has no effect whatsoever. It doesn't. They just want people to, manage their inventory, be more responsible with their inventory, and not send in loads and loads of excess stock. So I think we've all been kind of focusing on sell-through rate, which of course is incredibly important. But as it stands at the moment, I think the biggest thing on Amazon's mind, which is having the biggest influence, is missed opportunity for sales. So goods that come in and are, potentially you're not making as many sales as they're expecting.
You mean you're just not being competitive with the products you have?
No, that they're suggesting that you sending 100 and you're sending in 10. So they almost penalize you that you're missing out on sales, that they're missing out on opportunity. And then compounding with that as well, anybody that's got excess stock. So I think, whilst I still think overall, the most important thing will always be sell-through rate. Of course it is. Of course it's got to be sell-through rate. But actually a very, very close second, I think, is excess inventory, followed potentially by this Amazon algorithm, which is working what it thinks you should be selling on current sales, current inventory, past inventory, and what you think it should be selling moving forward, which is something I wasn't even, aware of. And I can't remember what prompted it, but I started doing a lot of digging last week because everyone kept saying, I'm selling. I've got rid of stock. I've done this, but my limits are dropping. My IPI is dropping and all this. And we know that the restock limit reacts really quickly. So, I was just sick of saying to people, just sell more. Whereas it wasn't kind of making sense. So I did a lot of digging last week. And you know me, I like a bit of terms of service. So I had a good old read of the terms of service, and it's right there in the Amazon terms of service, this algorithm that predicts everything. And if you're not managing your stock effectively, which is not just a case of what you don't, what you do sell, it's what you don't sell as well. Think about this from an employment point of view. If I hired you, Luke, and I hired you to hit 20 sales a month, okay, and you got 10 sales every month, I'm gonna, have issue with the 10 sales you haven't made every month. And that's how you've got to think about it. That's what Amazon is looking at. They're looking at
the only thing I was thinking is that, what if you already had a lot of stock in, and now and you knew it was going to take a while, but now you got to now obviously sell it, which is going to take time. And obviously you can't recall it for free because it costs money, so you're forced to keep it in. But that's also like.
Well, yeah, I think it's I think as long as you're selling it, though, I think I had this conversation with I won't say who it was, regular contributor to kind of this group and Facebook groups and everything like that. And this particular person was having a little bit of a dilemma during the free removals. Do I remove all them, or do I try and sell through them? And that's a really hard decision to make, because at the end of the day, it's a bit like we were talking 1,000 units of something. So we're not talking 10 units. So the mind automatically thinks straight away, free removals, great, remove them. That's what it thinks, doesn't it? But then you think, well, hang on, where am I going to sell 1,000 of these units? Because I bought them in volume to sell on Amazon, which has and supports the volume of sale of this particular product. eBay doesn't support the volume of sale. Facebook Marketplace certainly doesn't. And, 1,000 units, even if per unit it costs £2.50 or £3, that's £2,500 to £3,000 worth of goods sat there doing nothing. So, like I said, automatic thing is, okay, just remove them because it's free. But actually, from a logical business point of view, in that case, to help add to this person had a diminishing IPI score as well, which we know that sell-through rate is very, very important for that. My suggestion was actually possibly remove some and keep them in there, or keep them in there, lower the price, sell through, recover the money, and take, you know, I don't think there was any loss involved. I think it was a break-even situation. Break even on the stock, but at the same time, use that to help fuel and bring up the IPI score as well.
Although, you know, with the IPI score, like mine's 480, and it's kind of stuck around 480. And like my mate was like, "Oh, so what's?" I said, "Oh yeah, so next course, so I've got now I haven't got unlimited." You know, the unlimited, because that determines your cubic.
I bet you've still got like 56,000 square feet or something.
So let's say I've got like 900 at the moment or something. I don't know. It's something like that because I'm trying to burn through my stock. But the limit, because now it's not unlimited, was like 5,500. So it was like equivalent to me having 50,000, if I just had the same stuff, 50,000 units. Yeah, it could change and everything. But like I've never even had above like 20. And it's now with the hindrance of not unlimited, still saying I could have about 50,000. So I'm kind of a bit like confused by that, because that's almost a bit ridiculous in terms of too high, even though it's penalized. Now I've seen it, I'm like, oh, so you're getting penalized, but unlimited's obviously unlimited, but that's still way high. That's what I was just curious.
And I remember talking about this last year when the IPI limits changed and they went up from 450 to 500, which of course they've done now as well anyway. But again, this is something that's a bit of a misconception. You're not being penalized, essentially, because if you have 900 cubic square feet or whatever, 5,000 cubic square feet, square feet is based on the ground. Okay. Even if you had 5,000 square feet, it would probably still be enough. But we are talking, this is 5,000 cubic square feet, which means completely around to the sky. In terms of, well, not to the sky, but it's, you can stack on top as well as area. So it's the full area of that. And like you said, you could probably get 50,000 units in that. So what Amazon's saying is, yes, you haven't hit the metric that we've given you, but we recognize the fact that you are still an excellent seller and a volume seller, and we want you to, and you sell your stock quickly. So they're not going to limit you from that point of view. So it should never be seen as a restriction. You can still operate your business completely. But what you don't want to do is try and burn through your stock at a loss to try and get that IPI score up past 500 when you don't need to.
The only thing I was doing to get rid of at a loss was anything that's close to expiry, which I have a lot of units for, and also that will in turn bring down because obviously the limit where the maximum quantity kind of was fluctuating for 1 week when it was favorable for 1 week, and then the next week it went back down again, and then people were getting those cancellations. So at the time I was like, well, I need a bit of a buffer. Even if it says I can send 2,000 in, I don't really want to have, I want to always have about 1,000 available, because it seems to be adjusting weekly or whatever it ends up, but so that's also what I was looking at in terms of trying to,
and this is going to be a bit of a balancing act, guys, over the next quarter in particular. And I can kind of visualize the panic during Q4, for people that kind of don't get this under control now. I'm not saying the world's all coming to an end. Luke, like Luke's already said, he's technically been restricted already in terms of restock limitations and IPI, but it doesn't mean that you can't operate your business in exactly the same way or the way that you want to. It's not giving you enough room to grow.
Actually, I kind of like that it's given me that, because now I got an actual figure to base off.
Yeah,
like before it was it was all unknown. Like it was just unlimited, and okay, what does I know what it means, but now I have a bit of now I know what. I don't know what being under 450 would do, but it might be I don't know what it would be. But that'll take a little bit of doing maybe, but
Between 450 and 500, I think you're generally okay. If you are below 450, then you've probably got a little bit of work to do. But anything between 450 and 500, you probably will still be able to, run your business accordingly. That is a very general sweeping statement. So please don't hold me for that. It really will depend on the level that you're at your business. If you are just starting out, it might only mean 200 square cubic feet for you, whereas Luke's been doing this for a long time, obviously. It's what is ironic is actually that I don't have near as many units in my business, but I'm completely unrestricted and completely unlimited because Amazon likes my way of selling products, because we have a certain amount of SKUs that we replenish, and we do this and we do that. It's a very different business model. So the irony is I could send in way more than you, but I don't need that space. I don't need that space because, we send our stock in, for a month to 6 weeks, we sell it and we do it again. So we actually don't need the storage space. So that's where Amazon do need to correct and look at they can't look at people's businesses individually. Of course they can't. But they do need to put some different types of, they should be able to tell the difference between a seller that has 100 replenishable SKUs and a seller that has 15,000 SKUs, if that makes sense. So that's probably where they need to tweak the algorithm and make a difference on it, because we have unlimited space and we don't need it, to be perfectly honest. So it's the world gone mad a little bit. Phil says it's Six Sigma gone mad. I don't know what that means. Do you?
I don't either.
Sorry, Phil, you're gonna have to expand on that one, I'm afraid. But what it comes down to is, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Amazon is just wanting us to take a little bit more responsibility. And for once, I know we've all joked about Amazon and, the thing about yesterday saying we kind of know everything that they've said and things like that. But for once, I don't really think you can blame Amazon for this. They could have not in any way known that their business was going to do what it was going to do over the last 18 months. It takes them years to build and plan fulfillment centers. They have to staff those fulfillment centers. It's just impossible for them.
And that's why long term, it's not very feasible, is it?
No.
Like you can scale, but how fast can you really scale doing that? If you had to facilitate 10 new fulfillment centers, that's why I still think the futures did. Remember that beautiful idea I came up with? Well, not beautiful idea, but you couldn't do it on foods and stuff, but everything will be, the blueprints will all be digitally stored. If it make more like it was your own product, and then it have to be, and then it could be 3D printed. So there's no storage ever. Obviously, it have to be on specific products. You probably have to have like a food specific, because you couldn't you could 3D print food, but you get what I mean. It's easier if it's slightly more basic components and elements, I guess. But then you could 3D print it at a local. It would just come out like a local fulfillment center down the road, and it will get same day dispatch. But you wouldn't have no storage, and also that means you wouldn't have all the cost attributes. I don't know. I just think it's kind of like a bit of a waste. It's like a middleman that you don't need if you could avoid it.
Well, when you think about like print on demand type businesses, I know that this is an extreme print on demand because the product doesn't actually exist, whereas print on demand, the product still exists. You just print on it. But
it's kind of the same thing. It's like you know what you're getting, and it creates it on a purchase, rather than having it stored, waiting to be sold somewhere.
Yeah, it's funny because it's similar to a drop shipping model. Again, the product already exists, but you don't send it until you sell it, essentially. So those type of businesses do have the blueprint to be able to, or capacity or facility to be able to do it. But obviously, they're still not as popular as holding physical products. And maybe that comes down to because of the way the traditional business works in terms of assets, having tangible assets, cash flow, all of these different types of things. I don't know. It's something that definitely in Jeff Bezos's robot future, maybe, who knows?
So you're going to take Blue Origin to Mars, and he's going to do the old 3D printing in orbit and send down little drones or whatever to do the deliveries.
I saw someone bidded $19.8 million or £1 million in order to have the ride.
I thought it was 28.
Oh, was it? Oh, well, if it was dollars.
I'm sure I saw 28 something somewhere, but I mean, I could be completely wrong.
Oh, okay. Well, 28, 19 million, whatever. Do you know what? At the time I thought.
I think that's quite good.
I actually thought that's quite cheap. And I bet your life that's what Matt Webley's got down the back of his sofa. So I bet it was him.
You know, like if you've got money, then like as in if you've got like 500 million, obviously 28 is probably just pocket change. And there's obviously there's lots of there's thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of 100 millionaires.
We've had these space talks before. Luke is very much for space travel. I am not. I will categorically say that I will never go into space at any point in my life. Whereas Luke, you're quite happy to, you know, one-way trip to Mars, aren't you?
Well, not one way, just a business trip, expenses.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm quite happy keeping my feet on the ground for sure. But yeah, going back to the whole restock limit, I think what it comes down to is Amazon's growth over the last 18 months. Unfortunately, they are a victim of their own success. It is a classic example of being a victim of their own success. And they are really going to have to, you know, keep an eye on things. Certainly this year, Q4 could be very different this year. Like I said, if you really do have the opportunity to explore other platforms, in addition to Amazon, I'm not saying give Amazon up. A mad person, you'd be mad to give Amazon up at the moment. But, you know, other shipping options, if you can include or incorporate any type of self-fulfilled shipping options and, you know, compound that with other platforms as well. I think people are going to have some phenomenal Q4s this year. I think it's going to be a Q4 like we've never seen before. And that kind of brings me on to, but you've got to take charge of your own inventory now. Amazon has spoiled us for a really long period of time. And like what Lucas said, now even you've been given, as a very successful seller, you've been given some limitations and restrictions. You're actually going to embrace that because do you know what? That's what
I think I mentioned it before, but I probably just got lazy. It was like, well, sod it, just buy 3 months worth and chuck it in and forget about it.
Yeah.
But I think it's fine. Like you gotta, I see it as that you've got to go with the trend until it changes because you never know when it will change. So you could always try, like, you know, when people try to guess the stock market crash, it's like they spend their whole lives thinking, and then sometimes it happens, but they still think it's not happening, you know. And it's like you've got to go with what's happening now until you have to then adapt. But be ready to, and not think, no, I'm going to carry on or something. You've got to be ready to change when it does happen, rather than going, no, it'll be fine. Like a lot of like retail shops, they never innovated, they never adapted to change online. And you know, it's like, isn't it like Primark? Don't sell online. Nice. I'm like, is it a Primark? Don't sell online. I believe. And it's like, yeah, you can probably do it for a while, but you give it 10, 20. You know, you think, I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, to me, it's like.
I honestly think that if there's one business that's going to survive it, it's going to be Primark. They are going to be the business.
Yeah, I'm sure there's so like with Woolworths. I'm sure like in the 80s was like one of the biggest. I don't know, you know, but like or whenever it was. Yeah, Woolworths. Remember?
Yeah, no, I know Woolworths, but that just came out.
It's like you probably, you know, all these companies that have probably gone bust. If I probably reeled up, like looked at the biggest companies that have gone bust in history. Obviously, if you said to someone like when it was at its prime, it's gonna, and they're probably like, no. Eventually, it will. Eventually, if they don't adapt.
I think they will. Okay. I think they will adapt. I think they'll have to adapt. Even if they move to some sort of click and collect online, which I don't think they do either. I think that they'll have to do that. But I don't shop in Primark. I've never set foot in a Primark, not out of, you know, for any reason whatsoever. It's just the two places where the two Primarks are in my local town, I don't go to. I haven't been to for the last 10 years. I shop somewhere else completely in different, like, I prefer out of town shopping, you know, where it's got like nice parking. Yeah, yeah, like outlets and things like that, where you can just pull up and you can walk straight into the shop, as opposed to parking in town and then doing this and all that type of thing.
I want to know, like, the one thing I'm kind of like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen is, like, at some point town centers will have to be reinvigorated in some form, because most of it's going to be empty, like, you know.
Well,
and so I'm really interested to see in the next 100 years, well, I'll be dead at some point, but like 50 years, how maybe not the what
have to be the next 50 years, and you can slowly start to see the progression. You can really start to see it around where I live, and I'm sure everybody's got this in their own local areas. Is Bournemouth will always be okay because it's a seaside town at the end of the day. Oh, and by the way, I think Bournemouth is going for city status at some point next year, so that could change things. Who knows? But it might not be a seaside town anymore. I mean, it's big enough to be a city, to be, you know, it's busy enough.
Does that mean it'll have to it'll be part of Poole as well?
We're already Bournemouth and Poole Council, so it's a combined.
So it would become a city with Poole.
I assume the city would become like Bournemouth. And Poole. No, Bournemouth and Poole. I think Bournemouth.
What?
Something like
that sounds all right.
You know, like Brighton and Hove. I think.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be that type of city. But what's really interesting, it is literally, for want of quoting Dickens, it's a tale of two cities where we are, because Bournemouth is thriving seaside town, will always be busy, has totally set up for that. Whereas Poole was always a really beautiful kind of high street, and that's really deteriorated over the last few years. And before COVID, and that's the only reason I'm bringing this up, I'm not just telling a random story because Luke said, was they put in this big bid to reinvigorate it. You know, cinemas, bars, you know, all these different restaurants. It was going to take away the charm of the kind of old Poole town, and they were going to have to reinvigorate because Poole
and Christchurch, Matt said. Or maybe you know, it will come to it where it's not a bad idea. Every major town and city, well, maybe not city because there's not normally one main centre, but other kinds of this, you have like a massive garden. Like an absolutely huge, like, it's like every city has a beautiful, like, almost like a natural, reserve style place, gardens, and that'd be quite cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult because obviously, again, talking about Bournemouth, from now until September, locals will find it very hard to go down the beach. Locals will find it very hard to get into a restaurant without having to make a booking 2 weeks in advance on all these different types of things. So we can certainly support infrastructure for certain times, but not like London, not like Manchester, not like Liverpool, you know, big cities that have, you know, millions of people going in. But whatever way you look at it, is everything that's happened with regards to Amazon's progression over the last 18 months has certainly escalated the demise of the high street. I, at one point, thought the high street might have a little bit of a comeback, but not after what's happened over the last 12 months. It's, you know, dead in the water now. And you're absolutely right. They're going to have to adapt. If they don't, they will die. It's as simple as that.
I mean, there's only so many restaurants and bars you can put in. It's ultimately, you know,
absolutely.
Before.
I think you're going to have to see a lot of.
It could just be flats, ultimately, couldn't it?
I think it's going to have to be. It's going to have to be housing, and everyone's like, "Oh, don't put housing in. It should be this." But I think as long as there's a nice balance between housing and stuff for the community. You
could centralize it all. You could basically have you could convert it and have one main high street, like almost like the old days, but all of the expanded bits that go off it are now converted. You just have one center, which is quite, you know, it's nice. It's very, you kind of get what I mean. Like you sometimes go to old towns. It's just one straight line, and there's some nice bit, but it's not like hundreds and hundreds of it. You know, kind of bring it back to that point.
Yeah, and I think what will happen, there will be lots of developers and things rubbing their hands together with glee with the prospect of the demise of the high streets and what they'll be able to, you know, turn those investments into over the coming years. But likewise, whatever way you look at it, if it is that case, then it will.
Actually, I had a great idea. You could do. Oh my, this is such a good idea. So, like, you basically rent the whole of the city centre. And then you do like a zombie, like real life action day thing. So it feels like you're in a real.
They do that. Not in the though.
Oh, Yeah, but I don't, well, I know they do it, but like this would be like you can go like a mile, and it's all like it's like a survival 3-day survival thing where you've got to like pay money, and it's like you can camp out, but they can get you, and oh, that'd be so good.
And the only shop that is open that anyone can visit is Primark. That's the only one that they'll be able to visit. But yeah, they do those zombie things. I was gonna do that for my friend who loves zombies. My friend would literally marry a zombie. She loves zombies. And I was gonna do that for her. I think they do it in some sort of abandoned warehouse or something like that. Personally, not my cup of tea again, but you know, there we go. But on that, I mean, it's 8 o'clock now, but one thing I just quickly wanted to cover before we go, so let us know in the comments if you're thinking about this as well. Q4, yes, I know it's blazing hot outside and it's June and we're not even halfway. Oh, we are exactly halfway through the year today, I think. It's exactly halfway through the year. But guys, don't underestimate thinking about it too early. It should kind of always be on your mind. This week on Thursday, I have a meeting to sign off our first designs for Christmas packaging. So this is how much we're already thinking about Q4. Yes, it's the first meeting, but this is the time when you have to start thinking about it. Yes, while the rest of the world is thinking about selling swimming pools and suntan lotion, I'm thinking about putting candy canes on packaging because it takes this amount of time. And with everything that's going on with China, delays in shipping, cost of shipping, things like that at the moment, there's going to be a lot of shortages this year in Q4. So it definitely makes sense to start thinking about it as early as possible. Is it something you've started thinking about yet, Luke? Excuse me.
I've thought about how I'm going to strategize in the build up to, let's say, September. More than what I'm going to do. I kind of already know what, like, you know, yeah, it might not work forever, but I already know what to do. Just going to do more of the same. But then that takes a lot of capital to do. So I'm looking to basically ultimately, all I'm trying to do up the next, was it June, July, August, is just free up enough capital with obviously not trying to sell out of some stuff, keeping some stock there, and Amazon obviously with the changes, so that I've got, because obviously I want to maybe bring the stock down to 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 instead of 10, 11 of the same item. So I'm just like reducing the quantities a lot, because obviously I want decent space for Christmas as well. And obviously, yeah, it could disappear, it could go up, but like you got to play with what you got right now. To have a very skeleton crew kind of basis on that stuff, and then but then that will free up a lot of capital as well to then get prepared for Q4 and do more of the same as what I've been doing the last couple of Q4s, really.
And do you think, with regards to your stock planning, that you're going to have to be more diligent this year in terms?
I think it's possible that I could even just focus on the top sellers and just do a hell of a lot of them.
Yeah.
And the only thing I'll have to do is, which is already what I've been thinking about, is basically at the prep center is having pretty much pallets ready to go, or whatever it ends up being, boxes ready to go, minus the labels, because I can't create. So they're already basically they can get done in like half a day, and they can 3 pallets can go, just so that as things are selling, I can prepare the next lot. Obviously, because you can't, until you've sold, you can't free up your inventory to send more in theory, you know, potentially, if I'm right up to the limit. So you've got to have it already like ready to go so that you can get it, and maybe then look at next day delivery on pallets. Yeah, I know you can pay more money for some couriers, and they can get there. It doesn't mean it'll be booked in and all that kind of thing faster, but it just means it will get there a lot faster, just to kind of bridge that side of things, so that I am keeping the supply as fast as I can. So as I'm selling, I'm almost getting ready. Well, the day after that, it's 3 pallets, 5 pallets book in. 1 day later, I've got enough to be able to send in the next, 2 pallets, one, and so just feeding it that way. Again, I'll have to see how the limits change and whatever. It might be that it goes up to 20,000 and I've got plenty of space, because at the moment it's about 10, and last Q4 I was playing around 20 as in I had about 20 all the time. 18, 21, that kind of thing. So it's kind of half. So I have to basically be double as productive in terms of the logistical side.
Yeah, which I know
fine.
that you will be. I know that you will be because for those of you that do not know, Luke is absolute king of analytics and, you know, working things out and testing, seeing what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Essentially, you're quite happy to spend a few thousand on finding out what doesn't work for you.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm not actually good at identifying the things that are good. I gotta just try things, and actually, so I'm actually good at finding the bad things. Is ultimately what I've discovered, because
That's
most of the time it doesn't work. Something doesn't work first. Like more often than not, whatever I choose is like three. So one in every four times, it might actually be the right decision.
Yeah.
But I'll probably have three fails or whatever you want to call it. Three, you know, either that's monetary cost, that's time cost where I don't go in the, you know, I'm not progressing for half a year or something because of something. But then longer term, it, you know, you have 3, 4, 5 of those right direction moves. So even if it's 1 in 4, but if you do that, and it's you know, once a year, well, I should be in the right direction within 5 years. I've had 5 positive things, and it's more about that for me. I know that. So that sometimes means it does take a little longer to get there, but that's fine, you know, because I know that I'll get it once I've like reeled through all the bad decisions or whatever.
Well, like we've said it before, so I think you guys have probably heard me say it anyway as well, but I'm sure Thomas Edison would 100% agree with that approach of, you know, when it comes to testing, trialing, and doing stuff. And this is the time to do it now. This is the time to have a look at it, get ready and get prepared for Q4 for sure. But I'm sure you're going to keep us updated throughout Q4 and the build up to it anyway, with what you're doing and what you're not doing. Sean says, I lost thousands and still can't send in stock. Cleared out a few thousand units. Now Amazon wants another 2,000 sold. Oh, they want another 2,000. So I think probably, you know, limits are tightening up. The point I'll leave it on, obviously, is the one thing that the guys on the Amazon webinar did say is that they hope things will start to get a little bit better after Prime Day, which of course is 21st and 22nd. So that's Monday and Tuesday next week, I think, Prime Day.
Well, maybe they're trying to get this out of the way, and then they also want to really like be over aggressive, so that in preparation for Q4.
Well, this is my thoughts, right? And I feel like sometimes I'm the only person that just sounds like I'm being negative all the time. And if you knew me personally, right, you know that I'm really not a negative person. I always, always, always have a positive, or try and have a positive solution for everything. But I think in this scenario, logic and experience tells me they're saying Prime Day, okay, fair enough, it's all going to get even better after that. But Prime Day, we're talking about, yes, it's one of the busiest days in the Amazon calendar. Of course it is, in terms of volume of sales and things like that. But it doesn't even touch the sides of Q4. So with what they're saying is, oh, it's all going to get a bit better after that. Well, actually, they start talking about Q4 in July and August. And
I think I'm kind of resolved.
So how can it get better after
September? You know, in September you start to see a little bit of a shift, if they can, of course.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, even if they're saying it is all to do with Prime Day, which I don't believe, even if it is that, then, sorry, it's not that I don't believe it and I'm calling them liars. It's not that. I just think it's quite a shallow excuse for what's happening. How can they lift restrictions too much more after Prime Day? Because after Prime Day, people start sending in their private label goods, you know, from sort of August, September onwards. And that's just going to stack the whole places up even further, because Q4 is going to be even busier than Prime Day. That's my argument. But who knows?
We'll see.
We'll wait and see. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it for sure. Luke, as always, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me again. Now and then.
Yeah,
I get a call from Natalie a week before.
I do. I call you up on the Luke Mobile, not the Luke Mobile, the bat phone, the Luke phone. Yeah. And I say, please, you know, come and join me. But it's always enlightening. You know, lots discussed tonight and lots covered. Sean said, even if we get 500 plus IBI scores and everywhere green after 21st of June, it may not matter, as it looks like they are checking accounts weekly now. Everyone agree? Yes, 100% they are checking accounts weekly, but they are checking the IPI, the restock limits weekly. Whereas IPI scores, yes, they do change on a weekly basis, but you've got to remember that there's very much different factors that are involved for restock limits and IPIs. They're measured on completely different metrics. Well, not completely different metrics, but they're not taken, one does not take the other into account. They are both individual, so that's something to remember. But yeah, it just means, like I've been saying for a couple of weeks now, Amazon have support us for a really long time. Just means that we're all going to have to get better at managing our inventory and taking it more seriously, being more diligent, less punts, more reading the data and understanding what Amazon wants us to do. And if we get all that right, it's going to be a king's ransom, really, for anyone that does continue on, sell through Q4 and do really well. I actually am in Matt Webley's camp of it's going to be the best Q4 ever. But I'm going to add, a precursor to that is it's going to be the best Q4 ever for the people that get it right. And the people that try. That's what I'm adding to it at the moment. So fast selling products. Lots and lots of different factors to take into account. It's just not one size ticks or one size ticks all. But yeah, Sean's in agreement. Q4 is definitely going to be amazing. But rest assured, guys, we've got you covered. Anything that changes or anything that we know, we'll always dive deep and let you know what is happening in the world of Amazon. We're not going anywhere for sure. Well, I say that, I am actually going somewhere next week. So next week, I'm going to be on holiday, guys. I know I spent 10 minutes talking about how I never take breaks, at the start of this tonight. And then I'm like, oh, I'm going to go on holiday. But I am actually going on holiday away with the family. So, well, not away. We're literally going to a holiday place, which is like 20 minutes down the road. But we're going to have a little break with the family. So next week, Matt Webley is going to be kindly covering. I have told him, but whether he remembers, that's two different things. And he is going to be joined with a special guest next week. Don't worry, Luke, it's not you. Just see the panic coming across your face.
No, for a second, I was like, am I on next week?
Is that me? No.
I'm pretty sure I wasn't, but, I never, sometimes you just bring it on me or whatever.
Yes, but so Matt Webley is going to be here with a special guest next week, and that will be 7:00. So as always, keep us updated with everything that's going on with you guys this week. Post in the group any questions that you have, but most importantly, have a good week, and we will see you soon. Take care.
See everyone. Bye.